and welcome to Indiana Outdoors. I'm Jill Ditmire.
And I'm Don Van Meter. We're in Fort Wayne, Indiana's second largest city.
And we're right in the heart of downtown, and we are in the Follinger-Fryman Botanical Conservatory.
Yes, and we're going to have the manager of the conservatory visit with us in just a few minutes. But first of all, we're going to go to Delaware County and visit a farm that grows lots of corn.
It does.
Fall is my favorite time of the year. You know, you've worked all hard, you've gambled basically, you put everything on the line. You know, it's not uncommon for a farmer to have hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in seed and your inputs that it takes to put the crop out. Our family living comes from that. Being raised on a farm ever since I can remember, and then getting the chance to go into farming myself has just been a great opportunity. My wife has a farm background, and it just was a natural fit for us to stay here on the farm. We have enjoyed the opportunity of raising our children here, and the responsibilities that they learn on the farm has just been tremendous as they've gone into their adult life. We wouldn't trade it for anything. Right here in Indiana, we have a very good environment for raising corn.
We've got the right soils, good climate for it. You just sort of have to match the growing season of your crops to the conditions that you get. Indiana's good for corn and popcorn and tomatoes and soybeans.
My wife and I farm a little over 1,300 acres, and that's pretty evenly divided between corn and soybeans. Today it takes around 12 to 1,500 acres for an operation to support a family and be a full-time farmer. And we have grown to that, and sometimes I wonder if we're still big enough. I always think my dad's generation was a neat generation because they got to see us go from picking corn by hand to today's modern equipment. Well, the combines are a neat piece of equipment to watch. You know, you're just always amazed at how they can run through a cornfield and take that kernel of corn off the cob and put it into the grain tank. If you could cut a combine in half, you would find that there's a conveyor that takes the corn, pulls it down off the stalk through snapping rolls into the combine, and this big cylinder we call a rotor is turning about 400 or 500 RPM, and it just gently rubs that corn off the cob. And since the corn is heavier, the corn kernel is heavier than the corn cob and the husk and those type things, it falls down through some cleaning grates, and the lighter weight material gets blown out the back as the heavy stuff falls down into the conveyors. It's just been a tremendous evolution in farm machinery, and unfortunately that's why there's less and less farmers needed every year. You know, if a machine can do in one day what it would take 200 men to do in one day, then think about how many people we really need to have as farmers. Well, as the grain comes in out of the fields, we, in our own farm operation, we dump the grain. Depending on the moisture of the grain, we will artificially dry it. We have a grain dryer that 2 large fans that force air through it. We need to get the corn down to 15% moisture so it can be safely stored. So we can take it onto the elevator, or else we store it here in our own facility. We can store about half of our corn crop, but it does help us in harvest time. If the lines get too long at the elevator, we have the option of bringing the grain in here. As we deliver the grain to the elevator, they weigh the grain as we pull onto the scales. They'll take a sample after they've weighed the truck, and they'll go in and check the moisture of what's being delivered in. Some of it may be used making ethanol. Some can be used for use in feeds. There's a real future for us using corn and soybean and as renewable fuels. I know our own operation, we're already using 10% soybean oil in our diesel fuels. It's environmentally friendly. Well, believe it or not, we've already ordered our seeds for next year. We are always planning anywhere from 6 to 7 months in advance of the next season coming up, and before you know it, winter will be over and spring will be coming. I enjoy the chance to just sit out here in Indiana and look at the beautiful trees that are all around us and colors that they provide, and the golden colors of the corn out there. You know, it just kind of magically disappears with the big machines going across it, but it's just the beauty of being out there. And I guess I'm a little bit crazy. I enjoy Indiana winters too. So, you know, I like that white snow cover that kind of wipes the slate clean and gives you a fresh start in the spring. So I guess if you didn't like nature, you wouldn't be a farmer. I hope that I can retire here and watch a younger generation take over. And, you know, we're going to need farmers in the future. Food doesn't just appear at the grocery store. It has to start out here on the ground.
Well, we are in the lush and lovely tropical garden here at the Follinger-Fryman Botanical Conservatory, and we have a guest on.
Yes, we sure do.
This is Mitch Shepard. She is the manager of this beautiful place. Thank you for inviting us.
Oh, thank you. Welcome to the conservatory.
And we usually think of a conservatory being alongside a park or somewhere out in big grounds, but you literally are right in the heart of downtown Fort Wayne.
That's right. We are in the literal middle of downtown. We were built as part of a redevelopment project, and we occupy one city block downtown.
Wow. So you are one of the only urban botanical gardens anywhere, is that correct?
That's right. This is really quite unusual. As you've mentioned, most conservatories are built in the middle of lots and lots of acreage of gardens, but we were built to help revitalize this city, which we think we're a very important part of, and because of that, our gardens outdoors are very small, but our gardens indoors are quite extensive.
Now that you're downtown, or since you're downtown, I expect you have lots of visitors.
We see about 70,000 people on an average year, about 7,000 of whom are school children.
Where do they come from?
Well, they actually come from quite a wide region, most of the northern half of Indiana, some from Ohio, some from Michigan. We have an extensive curriculum which is tied to the Indiana State Educational Standards. So as you come here, you're doing your homework. It's not just for fun, it's all about learning too.
Well, and as you walk through the whole building, I mean, you have all different kinds of plants, you have birds, you have all kinds of things here for people to see. What will they get a feel of when they come to visit you?
Well, the first thing you'll experience is our Discovery Gallery, where you'll learn all about the plant parts. The next thing is a very special room. It's called the Showcase Garden, and we change that garden 6 times every year. You may come in and see a holiday display at one time, a fall festival at another, or in spring, wonderful, wonderful blooming tulips and other bulbs.
And this is the tropical garden area, and this is just wonderful in here. I feel like I've jetted away to the Caribbean or something.
It is a really lush, sort of steamy environment. The tropical garden is representative of no particular biome, but is a large permanent collection of tropical plants. And a lot of our teaching plants are in here. You see, we have bananas, we have kumquats, we have oranges, we have many medicinal plants, and plants that are used for food and clothing. And that's an important part of that school tour curriculum.
Absolutely, and the chocolate tree.
I was just thinking about that chocolate
I knew you
tree.
Would be.
Yes, and you have other events going on that revolve around chocolate.
We do. We have a chocolate event every winter where we talk about the importance of the plant, the ecology of the plant, and of course the wonderful things we get from that plant.
Now, what's that date?
Yes, exactly. We'll be back for that.
Well, that is a revolving date, but just go to botanicalconservatory.org and we'll keep you up to date on that.
All right.
And actually, you're open like virtually every day of the year, aren't you?
We're only closed for Christmas, New Year's, and Labor Day. Other days we are open 7 days a week.
Well, this morning I noticed that there were several people walking around through here, and they weren't school kids.
No, that's true.
That's right. We're an important part of local tourism also, and we see many, many out-of-town guests and international guests here.
Now, I would guess that an operation like this is not cheap to run.
It is not. The average annual operating expense is around $1 million a year to run a facility such as this. We're very fortunate in that we do have admission fees that help support us. We also do rent out parts of the facility for private events, and of course have many generous donors and sponsors that help us with that.
And you've been here for over 20 years. So I'm sure you've made some changes, obviously grown. What kinds of differences have gone on here at the conservatory?
Well, first of all, I should tell you that 20 years ago, the room that you're standing in didn't have a plant much higher than this.
So they really are growing, yes.
We've grown up quite a bit. We've added many of the interactive educational exhibits. One of my personal favorites, we have a room that we call the underground where we teach about soil. And in the underground area, it's just like you're an earthworm. You look up and there are beets and carrots coming down through the earth. And there's a worm tunnel for you to crawl through. But it's all about getting kids to put their hands on things because they learn so much more if they can touch and experience.
Yeah.
Give us some examples of the type of plants that you have. You've already named some, but what kind of plants do you have throughout here?
Well, in our first garden, the plants do change 6 times a year, but we do have an angel's trumpet plant that I would advise you to stop by and smell the flowers. The perfume is amazing. In the tropical house, we have a wide variety, like I said, of food plants. We have the macadamia nut, we have the oranges, we have the theobroma cacao, the chocolate.
Oh, my favorite.
We also have an arid biome where we have many cactuses, and it is actually representative of a particular biome, the Sonoran Desert. We have giant saguaro cactus in there, and when it rains outdoors and you walk into the desert, it smells like the desert. If you're from Arizona, you'll think you've gone home.
And like you said, it's always a beautiful day inside the conservatory, no matter what day you choose to come. Thank you for letting us come today, and you know what we're going to go check out right now.
You bet. Chocolate plant, here we come.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thank you. Our next 2 stories involve religion, and I believe that's a first for Indiana Outdoors.
And down in Ferdinand, Indiana, we found a very peaceful monastery with just beautiful architecture that can be appreciated by people of many different faiths.
The Monastery of the Immaculate Conception is located in Ferdinand, Indiana. Our sisters came to Ferdinand in 1867. They were asked to come to Ferdinand to teach the children in the school here. 4 sisters came, and they moved into a little house downtown and began teaching. And then as time went on, the sisters wanted to have a place of their own, and so they bought the farm up here on the hill, right where we are now. After almost 20 years, the sisters got the first house built up here on the hill. And then as time went on, the original chapel, which was within this first building, was too small. And so they called in an architect. They knew they needed a bigger church. They had not expected the plans that this gentleman drew up. They were beautiful, this Romanesque structure that they could tell could come to be if the plans were carried out. The outside was completed in 1916. That's almost 90 years ago. 10 years later, almost 10 years later, the inside was completed. So today we have this unbelievable chapel in which to worship. But the neat thing is, this chapel is open so that anyone can come and enjoy the peace and the quiet. And if they come at prayer time or mass time, our doors are open. They can join us. Back in the 1950s and 60s, many young women chose to become sisters. And we were running out of space up here on the hill. So that at that time, we sisters built Bennett Hall. but not so many young women come to be sisters nowadays. So a good part of that building now just houses our sisters who live here at the monastery. And also in that building on the first floor is our gift shop, which is called For Heaven's Sakes. And our sisters manage that and run that and are the workers there. And many of the things that are sold in that gift shop are made by our sisters. And the proceeds from the gift shop are help with our sisters' retirement. We have many sisters who are retired. We have beautiful flowers around the grotto and many other places on our grounds. We have this, what I call a holy hill over there, where people can walk around and enjoy peace and quiet, and it's a place of prayer. I believe that most people that come here, there's several reasons. One of them is that they have heard about our buildings. We're on the National Historic Roll of Places, and they read about us, and they visit lots of places. And they come to our grounds just to enjoy the peace and the quiet. This is just a safe and friendly and holy place to spend some time.
We're on our way north to South Bend, home of Notre Dame University.
And one of the most famous outdoor sites at Notre Dame is the Grotto.
Yes.
And Indiana Outdoors was lucky enough to find a grotto expert to talk with.
Okay.
The University of Notre Dame was founded in 1842 by Father Edward Sorin. His guiding star was Mary, the Mother of God. Everything on the campus is dedicated to her. The buildings, the landscape, the grotto. My name is Dorothy Carlson. The reason I researched the grotto was that my father built a replica of the Notre Dame Grotto for a church here in South Bend. It was the last thing he did before he died. I did not know at that time that he had worked on it, and my brother asked me if I knew about the grotto he had built. And I said, "What's a grotto?" And he said, "Let me show it to you." So I went to see the grotto that he built, and it so impressed me that I wanted to see and know more about the one at Notre Dame. So I came to the University Archives at that time and began researching it. The grotto was built in 1896 by Father William Corby. He went there in 1894 to Lourdes, and when he returned, it took a year or so before he actually built it. But the grotto was then built on a site that was like a little wooded dell, and it was a replica as much as possible of the one in Lourdes. The one in Lourdes, the story behind it was that Bernadette and a couple of companions went out into the woods to gather wood for their fireplace. And there they came upon this cave, and while she was there, she saw this vision of Mary, and Mary asked her to keep coming back, and so she came back 18 times over that period of time. The beauty of the natural setting, the soft candle glow convey a feeling of warmth and welcome. To me, the grotto is filled with all the hopes and dreams of everyone who's ever visited here. Quiet memories are being made every day, memories that will last a lifetime. People of all faiths come here to this place of quiet reflection for peace and rest, to say a prayer, to reflect upon a problem, just to be in this beautiful setting. People come in all kinds of weather. Summer, winter, there's always someone here. She's never alone.
So, you know, we've had religion in the show, and we're going to end with war. Well, war games.
Yeah. We went to Yorktown in Delaware County to play paintball. Yeah. But now, if combat makes you a little bit too nervous, Don, just think about that peaceful monastery in that last story.
Right.
That's it.
Paintball has been a popular, it's classified an extreme sport, like your skateboarding and snowboarding and, you know, some of those sports would be. You know, it's something that anybody at any physical level, as long as, of course, the doctor says it's okay to engage in a physical activity, they can play. It's not all running. You know, there is sometimes crawling involved, but a person can choose at what level they actually want to play. You don't have to have your own equipment. We have equipment that's available, but like a lot of other sports, whether it be bowling or golf, you get into those things and the next thing you know, you want your own bowling ball and your golf clubs. Well, the same thing applies to paintball too. The two most popular times are the spring and the fall. The weeds, the woods hasn't grown up, so you still have some visibility in the woods, but there is no season for paintball. It's one of those things that, you know, once you play paintball, you get the bug and you play usually any chance you get. When people come, we try and give them some variety. You know, we have the woods areas that we play in. We also have the open field speedball fields that we play. The group pretty much dictates the type of play they want. We have the capture the flag games, we have the center flag games, we have the sniper games, mole types of games. So there's all kinds of different games that we play. Some are standardized paintball games that have been developed and played for a while, and then you know, we sometimes make up our own games. Fun with those.
You're behind me. You two go to the left side. Totally. Far left, cover. Don't let them around you.
He's almost got a
and
whole
if they get behind you, back up and start a line right here.
Paintball is not a one-on-one necessarily, or a bunch of individuals just running around trying to hide from one another. It is a team sport, so there's strategy involved, there's tactics involved, there's that, I suppose, the camaraderie that develops when you're trying to tag your teammate back into the game. From a team building standpoint, you know, it can be made as much of a team building situation as individuals or groups want to make it. Being hit by paintball is probably the most questionable thing when somebody hasn't played before. You know, they'll hear maybe by someone that it hurts, and they'll hear from someone else that it doesn't hurt. A paintball, typically, I've heard it referred to as kind of being similar to a towel flip. When you take a hit, sometimes in the face, there are always the vented portions of your mask, and sometimes that wax and fill gets through, and you taste it, and you learn quickly why you don't have to worry about eating paintballs.
Right there, baby, let's get this!
The reward is, for me personally, is just seeing the excitement and the fun and hearing the talk afterwards. People talking about how much fun they had and they want to come back. Seeing father and son combinations come out and play, and hearing them talk about how they've been able to spend, you know, time together that up to that point they haven't been able to engage in maybe an activity like that before.
I think the camera got a little too close in that story.
I think so.
Well, that's our show for today. A little bit of war and a little bit of peace.
And we want to thank Mitch Shepard at the Follinger-Freiman Botanical Conservatory for inviting us here today.
Yes.
And we'll see all you again next time on Indiana Outdoors.
Bye, everybody.
Time to go find the chocolate tree.
I'm with you. Let's go.